Welcome back to Teaching Music Tomorrow. My name is Ann Molesky, and I'm here with Victoria Bowler, and we are back for more with Tideo, whatever variant you choose, or the variants that we choose, because today we're talking about melody. So today we're talking about how to extract some melodic content, pedagogically speaking, for your classroom, and something that you can quickly and hopefully efficiently put into your lesson tomorrow. So, Victoria, what do you have to say about melody before we dive in when it comes to Tideo?
Okay, so this is where you said, like, bring whatever version of Tideo. All versions of Tideo are welcome. And then we were like, well, maybe we should backpedal that a little bit because, like, what we will find is when it comes to the melodic version that you choose, there's going to be a harmonic implication for sure that you and I will both talk about. And then, of course, there are going to be melodic patterns that change depending on what version. So if you are like me, I sweat this stuff because if you recall the last episode, this is what I do all the time. Like I'll inevitably teach like 7 different versions of it in the same song, right? So I'll mix up the patterns that I'm using in Tideo, and I did it last episode as well. So this is the part for me that if I want to teach something with a melodic focus, boy howdy, I need that notation in front of me because wow, I'm not going to use it. And in the middle of a game, I'll sing something else and like the class sings something different. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad you guys know this because I was going to take us a different direction here. So all of that to say, choose your favorite version of Tideo and then make sure you gobble all of them up and collapse them into one amazing mosh posh version of all of them.
Well, and then make sure you've seen it last episode. Make sure you like pick the one that you're sure you're going to sing. And then also make sure that the kids are really singing it the way that you want them to sing it, right? Because I sing with that half cadence, as I'm sure I know we're going to talk about because I'm going to share something about it. But anyway, I sing it that way with my kids, and sometimes they go all the way to mi, re, do instead of mi, re, re, right? And so like they just automatically do it because it's so prevalent at the end of the song. And so not only do you have to be sure that you're singing it the way you want to, but you have to be sure that the kids are singing it the way that you want them to be singing so that then you can go and extract it, because otherwise you're just going to kind of be like totally passing each other by, right?
Yes, yeah. Because one of the things, and this will get into, gosh, there's so many things I could say about this, Anne. But that is a huge reason for pedagogues who do have a harmonic outline while they're singing something, like whether that be with a barred instrument or with the ukulele, or even singing the harmony part, the bass outline, like as a part of teaching the song. It's because it matters. And something like Tideo, or something else that comes to mind for me is Rocky Mountain. Anything where we're like, we could go to the bottom, but sometimes we don't. It's like for students who haven't internalized the harmonic function that is implied with the melody, is like there's no reason not to go all the way down to do every single time, and so teaching the harmonic implications at the same time that you're teaching the melodic line is, again, a rich thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. All right, I'm ready for you. I want to see what you're doing.
Okay, so this is one way I like to get around my gobbledygook version of all of the Tideos I sing at one time. And I do it by just making sure that I'm always going to end on do every single time. So this is the version that I am going to use. Skip one window, Tideo. Let's see. I will actually even bum bum bum. I was kind of similar in between a C and a D. So now I'll move right here. Skip one window, Tideo. Skip 2 windows, Tideo. Skip 3 windows, Tideo. Jingle at the window, Tideo. Tideo, Tideo. Jingle at the window, Tideo. Tideo, Tideo. Jingle at the window, Tideo. And that's what we're going to do. So I have my alto xylophone here, and I'm just set up in C pentatonic, and I just have a simple level bordun going the whole entire time. Okay, beautiful. I texted you earlier, Anne, and I was like, I have a melodic-ish activity, but it doesn't have to be melodic. So This song is not that complicated rhythmically. We kind of have like little phrases that we use forever and ever. So one of them is skip one window. We also have Tideo, and then we also have jingle at the window. And if we were to take the sub phrases of this song, they are not, they're not that many options. We kind of have those three as I'm thinking through it in our head. I think we just have those three, and that's it. We're just mixing them up. So let's take a few things. I'm going to take skip, skip. I'm also going to have jingle at the window, and I'll have Tideo. And I can put those in any combination that I want. So I might say skip, skip, jingle at the window, skip, skip,
Skip,
jingle at the
jingle
window.
at the window.
Great. Will you do that? We'll be off on Zoom. I might even cut this. Will you do that? And I will sing Tideo. Let's try it. Here you go.
Skip, skip, jingle at the window. Skip, skip, jingle at the window.
Skip one window,
jingle at the window.
Tideo.
Skip,
Skip through
skip,
windows,
jingle at the
Tideo.
window.
Skip through
skip,
windows. You get
jingle
the
at
idea.
window.
Beautiful.
Skip, skip.
Will you give me another combination? And this is not going to be tied to a specific rhythmic extraction, so it can be anything. If you start mixing them up, it's totally fine. So give me another little pattern that you're pulling from the text.
Oh gosh. Jingle at the window. Skip, skip.
Beautiful.
Jingle at the window. Skip, skip. Jingle at the window. Skip, skip. Jingle at the window. Skip,
Tidy, stop. Good.
Jingle
Beautiful.
at the window.
So we might say Tideo, 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 forever and ever. It might have jingle at the window, Tideo, jingle at the window, skip, skip, whatever. It doesn't matter. So any combination. Great. So now let's take those and we're all going to sing it on do the whole time. So instead of saying, what was your favorite one, Anne? I'm putting you on the spot.
Skip, skip, jingle at the window.
You're right. That's the best
Yeah,
one.
it's
You're
the
right.
best
I
one.
totally agree. So now you're going to sing skip, skip, jingle at the window, skip, skip, jingle at the window.
Jingle at the window. Skip, skip, jingle at the window. Skip, skip, jingle at the window.
Skip one window, Tideo. Skip two windows, Tideo. Skip three windows, Tideo. Jingle at the window, tidy, stop. Beautiful. So now, what if I were to ask you to put that low note on some words, but then what if we got really wild and we could also use our high note that lives on our head? That could be pretty fun. So now you could have skip, skip, jingle at the window, skip, skip, jingle at the window, skip, skip. Or you could do skip, skip, jingle at the window, skip, skip, jingle at the window. Or we go skip, skip, jingle at the window. That might be the first one I did. I don't remember. Skip, skip, jingle at the window. Right, whatever you want.
Yeah.
So when I do this, I'm using my whole entire body. So I have my hands on my head for the high sound, and I have my hands on my hips for the low sound. But I'm also, in the classroom, I'm also like standing on my tiptoes for the high sound, and I'm crouching down for the low sound. So all together as a class, we can come up with one rhythm that we'll do all together. But then can you imagine your own combination of our low sound and our high sound that you like? Which one is your favorite? And we go through like some class versions of that. Like a student will just suggest one and be like, oh, that is a great idea. We've got to try that one right now. So we do, right? And then after a while, we kind of pick one that we like. Something that you could hypothetically do, since I'm using just a tonic through this whole entire song, and there aren't changes, you could, if you want to extend this, use so and mi and do, skip, skip, jingle at the window, skip, skip, jingle at the window, or skip, skip, jingle at the window, skip, skip, jingle at the window, any combination of that. So we can link this to solfege if we want to, but this can also be a prep activity where we're just making music. It depends on if we're going to call it do and so, or the low sound and the high sound. And then with the so, mi, do, you can use that hypothetically as a way to kind of lead into re, as the pitch that comes between mi and do. I haven't done that, but I want to throw it out there like it is a hypothetical option. So that's one way that I get around all of the different versions that I use for this song.
Yeah, no, I love this. I like what you said about how it can kind of lead into a Ray thing, especially because you make sure that you always sing it mi re do. So
Yes.
it's like everywhere in the song, right? No, I love this so much because of, first of all, you start with the speech as the pathway to melodic improvisation, right? Which is essentially what it is. Like, we're kind of doing like that continuum-y thing where it's like they're making a choice, so is it composition, is it improvisation, whatever. But what I really love about this too is it's an introduction to different drones or borduns or whatever your term is for that on the instruments, right? So I assume that at some point you would then transfer this to letting them play on the instruments as well, right? So creating your own ostinati. Yeah.
Yes, because like we're already doing a version of a bordun with that, and especially if we do two of those patterns at once, like now it's just a vocal bordun.
Yeah, love it so much. Yeah, so let me take that and let me add a little bit of dominant cadence to it, and then if people want to keep going, they can take your idea with my idea and do full chord accompaniments song accompaniments for the whole song if they sing it in different ways. So what I'd like for you to do is I'm going to sing my version of Tideo so we can get it in our brains. And what I'd like for you to do is just do a light circle clap to the beat. So here I go, past one window, Tideo, past two windows, Tideo, past three. I had to think about my version. I know. Here I go. I'm going to start again. Here I go. Past one window, Tideo, past two windows, Tideo, past three windows, Tideo, jingle at the window, Tideo, 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 jingle at the window, Tideo, 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 jingle at the window, Tideo. Ah, cool. So now we're going to go and we're going to do like very short circle claps, right? So lots of fast circles, okay? Here we go. Past one window, Tideo, past two windows, Tideo, past three windows, Tideo, jingle at the window, Tideo, 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 jingle at the window, Tideo, 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 jingle at the window, Tideo. Ooh, that's a lot of work, right? Let's go ahead and go the other direction and let's make it a really big circle, right? So it's kind of our macro beats, like if we're just looking at the heavy accents in the song, okay? Ready, set, and here we go. Past one window, Tideo, past two windows, Tideo, past three windows, Tideo, jingle at the window, Tideo, 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 jingle at the window, Tideo, 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 jingle at the window, Tideo. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen with my very silly graphic because as I mentioned in our apple tree stuff, oftentimes you can see this, yes? Let me zoom in on her. It's not fancy or pretty, but it gets the point across. As I mentioned in our apple tree episodes, I have really embraced just like grabbing an expo marker this year and just throwing some stuff on the board. So this is something that I would probably just write up on the board, but now I have this, so I can project it. So what you see here are the lyrics to our song, the words to our song. You see some blue boxes, and you see the A section and the B section kind of identified here, right? And what you might notice if we were to sing this again, but we're not going to for time, is that when we do those big circle claps, there's a blue square for every single one of those big circle claps. Okay, so now what I'd like for you to do is I want you to take our mi, re, do. I want you to sing a do every time you see one of those blue squares. Ready, set, and here we go. Past one window, Tideo, past two windows, Tideo, past three windows, Tideo, jingle at the window, Tideo, 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 jingle at the window, Tideo, 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 jingle at the window, Tideo. Now there might have been somewhere where you couldn't quite, like it didn't feel right. Victoria, can you tell me where it might be?
Yeah, it was some of the Tideos. I felt like they sounded like kind of clashy together.
Some of the Tideos. Can you notice this time where those Tideos were? If it was the first line, the second line, the third line, or the fourth line? Okay, let us go to, let's just do it, the A section. Here I go. Here's your do, here I go. Past one window, tiny-o. Past two windows, tiny-o. Past three windows, tiny-o. Jingle at the window, tiny-o. Where was it? Where was the square that fell off?
It was the second line, so the fourth square.
The fourth, oh, look at you, the fourth square. So let's change the color very, very quickly. I don't know what it's going to be. Might have to edit this. I wasn't prepared. This is why I use markers. There we go. Let's make it pink. Okay, so now, this time when you get there, we're going to go all the way down to a different note because we've already talked about this. So if you remember, one of our great friends when we play ostinati on our barred instruments is we usually have a do, and then we also have a fourth graders? We have a so. Absolutely. So this time we're going to make it a low so. So you're going to sing do, 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 so. And then we practice that. And then we go ahead and sing. Okay, great. And maybe that's where we end, right? We'd fix it in the B section as well. Obviously, I'm going to stop my share. And that might be where we end. And the reason why, actually, I lied. Let me go back to the share. The reason why is because I think when we're singing, this is the really obvious one. The other place where we might add a pink square is this last jingle at the window, tiny-o, right? Just to make it sound complete. So that's probably something that we'll add later once this is transferred to instruments. And the reason that I say this is because what I do is I make this a direct application to like a do, so, do, so, 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 do, so, right? So we have that opportunity. And then when they're doing that broken drone, they can really hear like, oh, it wants to go to that low so. Like there's something we could do to make it sound more final there at the end. So then we have that conversation when we come to it. But I think this is a really good introductory point to being like, oh wait, there's some dissonance there and we can make it sound happier. Like it feels better in our bodies, right? To put a so there as the root. So again, just kind of like the first foray into some chord root stuff.
Yeah, I love that. So when we moved to a so, I was surprised that we were going all the way down to a low so, because then that means that our song range is going to be from low so to high do, which makes sense because you're doing this with upper elementary, but it's still like pretty high. But that's why you said this is where we'll pause and then we're going to instruments. And what I love about this, Anne, is that we are using instruments here and we are using instruments harmonically, but we're starting everything with an aural bass. Because the other way you could have done this is when you see the blue, play C. And when you see a pink, play G. But instead, you're taking us in, very appropriately, you're taking us through this aural pathway where we need to notice for ourselves that the music that we're singing in our bodies and that we hear around the classroom, like we really internalize why in Western tonal music we switch to the 5-chord. And even if we don't have that vocabulary, we've internalized what it means, again, within this sphere of Western tonal music, that we would expect a harmonic shift. But you're not telling us about it by saying, today we're going to learn about the 1 and 5 chord. When you see the blue, do this, right? With like the blue boom whacker, and it would be red, but it doesn't matter. And then your pink boom whacker, it goes on this one, right? Yeah. This is an aural first approach to instruments. So we're still doing instruments, but we don't start with the instruments. We start with why.
Yeah, and I think that there's a place for hey, we're going to learn this melody. Here's the first part. Now let's take some time and see if you can just figure it out. Like there's a time and a place for that. But again, if this is kind of my first experience with chord roots in this way, which the song actually often is, I think exactly what you're saying is so important, because if you start at the instruments, you're going to have kids who hear it and you're going to have kids who don't, right? And where if you are singing it and everybody's singing do throughout, even if they still don't quite get that dissonant part, when we switch to so, you see the light bulb go on. They're like, oh, wait, that does sound different and quote unquote better, right? Because or sounds more like what I would expect, right? Would maybe be the right way to say that. Yeah. And so I think that's a really important distinction, because it's not that they necessarily wouldn't be able to play the notes. But again, if you can get that light bulb moment, then transferring it to the instruments is like no time at all, right? Because like, oh yeah, like of course this is what we did. So yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and just to say, so we're not like misinterpreting, like, or so we're not like saying things that we don't agree with. I think you and I would both say yes, instruments first is a beautiful pedagogical choice.
Yeah, exactly.
And like putting something on the board and saying play this when you hear this, or like play this when you see this color. Yes, that's an excellent pedagogical choice. If that's the only choice we have, then that would be kind of limiting to our like palette of developing aural skills. So this is another way to approach it that is, again, like an aural first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Okay, cool. So that's fun because you can do this activity in second grade-ish, or you can do this activity in fourth grade-ish. And they are, like you said, kind of the same activity at their core, which is funny. But it depends on how you want to approach it and how fast you're going to take it and how many kind of twists and turns you expect students to kind of hang in for along the way. So I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember, like exactly like you said, for me this is what I kind of refer to as a core song, because it does keep coming back over and over again, right? And so I think it's fun to say, remember that game we played at the end of second grade? Here it is again. Let's play it, and then let's do this other activity with it. So yeah, so next time we're getting to what people maybe think of first with this, and that is rhythm, because it is such a prevalent ticka ticka song. But we will talk about that in the next episode.